An Android tablet that doesn't quite belong. HTC news on both sides of the good-bad divide. An ugly as sin Apple accessory. And a Droid Turbo 2 that looks like BB-8. Where are you going to find talk like this anywhere else on the internet? If you answered, anywhere I look, well, you're right. But you ended up here, so welcome to the party on episode 177 of the Pocketnow Weekly. This is a once-a-week podcast where we discuss and dissect those gadgets that make our mobile lives so technologically tubular. Smartphones, tablets, wearables, extreme action cams, and whatever, beyond. It's all the stuff you wished existed when you were a kid. I'm Michael Fisher, reviews editor for Pocketnow, and I'm sharing the beautiful city of Boston, Massachusetts on a not-so-beautiful day with producer Jules Wang. Joining us from New Jersey is Pocketnow's chief news editor, and if this were a Bond film, he'd be the man with the olden phone. Stephen Schenck, good day to you.
Hey. That took me a minute.
And joining us again for the second time this month, which has got to be some kind of record, of Pocketnow Daily fame, multimedia manager Jaime Rivera. Welcome aboard, sir.
Hello, and I apologize for the beautiful visuals right now. I just can't get a better angle for you guys.
As I said in the pre-show, Jaime, you look like a video game villain from a late 80s video game.
Yeah, I look like... Go ahead.
It looks like there was some old Dr. Seuss book where instead of the flash light, they had the flash dark. And it looks like that's what's pointed at your face.
What was the game? Was it F-Zero or FX-Zero or something, the game from All Your Base or Belong to Us? You look like Cat's the villain in that.
Game.
Okay, just try to remember this. 1991, Jakio from Ninja Gaiden.
Yes!
See, there you go. See?
I'm with you.
We've come to consensus already. This is going to be a good show. Everyone, the time on the East Coast is 1:35 p.m. Good afternoon to you all. I have some exciting news for y'all.
Oh, do tell.
Yeah, I know, isn't it crazy? I've actually what it is really is knowledge to impart. Did you know, Jaime, that with just a few lines of code, you can send text messages that include alerts, reminders, order updates, SMS marketing campaigns, and instructions for app downloads? Did you know that?
Simple answer, no.
Okay, well, it's true. With Telecommunication Systems Cloud Messaging Center, developers can easily integrate text messaging, that new thing all the kids are doing, into their own mobile application, backend, or website. As a company, TCS handles up to 670 billion messages per year. That's an average of 1.8 billion messages per day. Whoa! Their CMC REST API lets you send messages for alerts, reminders, and order updates. You can use it to send SMS marketing campaigns, to drive app downloads, or to increase user engagement. The REST API, I love saying REST API, I don't know why, allows you to perform messaging functions such as sending, receiving, and scheduling messages, securing delivery receipts, and creating groups and contacts. TCS offers inter-carrier messaging across all U.S. wireless carriers. The pricing is flexible. It's based on the quantity of messages needed. There's a pay-as-you-go monthly plan. I'm going to stop talking because you should already be sweating. You're so excited. Go to cloudmessaging.guru to sign up for the Cloud Messaging Center REST API. That's cloudmessaging.guru, G-U-R-U. Still the best web address I've ever said out loud. Start integrating this messaging solution today. Stephen Schenck.
Yeah.
Remind people, Jaime's got to recover. Jaime's got to catch his breath.
It was too much for him.
Remind people how to work this podcast while he does.
Yeah, well, thank you, everyone who's watching us live. We love having you here with us, and we can't do the show without you. Whether your questions, your comments later, or just recommending the podcast to others, we like to keep you guys involved. So if you're watching us live and you have something you think that we should be talking about, something that needs clarification, you just want to say how cool and nice and friendly we are, we want to hear it. So head on over to the Q&A tab on your Hangout screen there. Type in your question, and the other viewers will vote up their favorites. We'll do our best to address some of the most popular, or just the ones we like the best on the air. And if you think of something later on, you're watching this, listen to the high-quality version on your commute in a couple days, that's cool too. You can send us an email, podcast@pocketnow.com. We're going to go through those listener mails, maybe get to them on a future show. We've got a couple in the running for today. So either live with the Q&A on Hangouts or send us an email, podcast@pocketnow.com. One way or the other, we got to hear from you somehow, so make it happen, people.
Right. Everyone's got to speak with us. And we're already getting some cues in the Q&A, and that's a wonderful thing. But before we get to any of those, I think it's time to ask Jules to bring us into the news block. Wait a minute. That wasn't the right... What happened to the news drop? What happened to our exciting, like roll-in music that lets me ramp up to...
Can I confess something here? I have no idea what the proper audio cues are here.
Really?
Like, every week it's a surprise.
The news drop, it's the one that like starts in with that like synth electric guitar. It's like, and then it rolls us in like a Channel 7 news.
Let's just acapella it.
Yeah,
That's
sure.
the way to go.
Jules is instructing me in the chat to tease the giveaway first, which, of course, I will, but I don't know why I'm looking at a picture of two Privs with a headline asking whether HP will fly again.
Because they're like forming a wing of Privs there.
No, I like that image. Don't get me wrong. I'm just wondering if HP has built the latest BlackBerry, or what. By the way, I don't know what's wrong with his voice today. I'm really sorry about that. Let's talk about what we're giving away. Stephen, we're giving away two devices, and they're both the same device, but we're giving them away somewhat differently, aren't we?
Yes, we are. And eligibility is a little different depending on which contest you enter here, but they're both super easy to do. We have two BlackBerry Privs. They're from AT&T, so they have lots of great band support, but they are going to be locked to AT&T. Maybe you can unlock them, maybe you can't. We don't know, but if you're happy to give it a try, maybe you are using AT&T in the States, you are set. Two separate posts. Yeah, well, because
you're the unlocking king. You know something about that. You know.
He knows a guy who knows a guy, and yeah.
No, I actually know the guy that everybody knows that unlocks phones, by the way.
See?
Excellent. See?
Perfect. So talk to Jaime if you happen to win this and looking to unlock that.
How do people win one, Stephen?
That's a good question here. What are the details on the first one? You put this one together.
Yeah, so on the first one, all you have to do is go to the first post, and you have to go to the BlackBerry Priv review that we did a couple months ago. The link is right in the announcement post, and leave a comment on the review. And then tell the Rafflecopter widget that you did that. Just click that, yes, I left a comment. And then you're set. You're entered for a chance to win. And you can get extra points by sharing a couple things on Twitter, I think, and a couple things on Facebook. How is it? It's a pretty similar model for the second one, right?
It's nearly exactly identical there. Well, the first one we should mention is for U.S. residents only, right?
The first one is for U.S. residents only. The second one is global, yes.
Right, our second one's global. Second one is formally to celebrate hitting 5,000 videos on YouTube, which is a ridiculous number of videos here. I don't know how we do it. I mean, you guys are the ones making the videos here. You must be not getting any sleep, I assume. You're just doing this constantly 24/7 around the clock.
No comment.
Yeah. But to celebrate this grand milestone, we're giving away the second Priv here. This one is open to readers from around the globe. We know a lot of you are international. We wanted to give you a chance to win as well. So any of you can enter. Again, you have to head on over to the Pocketnow's BlackBerry Priv review, leave a comment there. That's enough to enter. You can also get some extra points by sharing the review on social networks. Given the URL to your post, we'll add another entry in, tally those up. They also end at different times. Was the first one you have through what, Sunday to enter?
That's correct. Yeah, through Monday at midnight technically, but yeah, Sunday night.
Monday. And I think the other one runs through next Wednesday, so a little more time there. But don't waste time here. Don't leave it to the last minute. So get on the site tonight, this weekend, get your entries for both of them in. 2 chances to win. Even more chances if you do the alternate, the sharing extra entries. So a lot of opportunities here. We really want to give these things away, so please participate.
Absolutely. I'm just calling up the rundown. I've just remembered that I forgot my power cord for this machine, so I'm going to have to go get that in a second. But I'm not able to go run out the door and do that yet because I've got to talk to you guys about, well,
like smartphones and crap.
Smartphones, tablets, wearables. You know.
Yeah. Okay.
I actually thought the next story in the rundown was the one I really want to talk about, but I guess I'm going to have to like quell that for a minute.
We have a nice rundown here. I'm curious what you're excited about.
I'm excited about talking about the Star Wars droids, and and then at the same time I'm really not excited about them. We're gonna get to that in a hot second. It's coming. Thanks, Jules. Now it's the news time. The Pixel C is now in the Google Store, and it's starting at $4.99. Stephen, we have people in the Q&A telling us they're watching this broadcast on their own Pixel Cs, which they've already got. They have been shipping for a couple days now. Yeah, we would have had one today if I had not So listen, guys, don't order. Jaime, I know you can relate to this. Do not order anything on the internet, much less review devices or devices from the Google store that cost a lot of money, after you've been out carousing, after you've had a few. Because I woke up about 6 hours after ordering our Pixel C and Pixel C keyboard, and I'd been out at a Google event, which I will talk about in a second, where there had been free drinks. And so I looked up at the order confirmation that morning and found that I was about to receive, probably in a few minutes,
7 Pixel Cs?
No, a Pixel C keyboard along with an indigo black Nexus 9.
That's a good match.
It's not a great
Wow.
nothing good about it.
I think you can make it work. A little duct tape. Those will fit together.
So, short story, don't drink and order. Second story, I'm not surprised people already have their Pixel Cs because they're shipping out very quickly. But tell us what it is, Stephen, then we're going to get into what it is not.
The Pixel C is Google's new tablet this year. We are not getting another Nexus tablet. The Nexus 9 is still, sorry, Michael bought it. It's still the flagship Nexus tablet. But back at the September event that brought us the Nexus 5X and 6P, Google revealed this kind of unexpected device. It's built like it looks like one of the Pixel notebooks. It's metallic construction. It looks a lot like a productivity tablet. You have to get the keyboard if you go with it. I mean, it's like the iPad Pro, and I can do a keyboard for it there. But it goes with this Pixel name, which is weird because we've known Pixel to be the Chrome OS brand here, and it's sort of. I think a lot of the responses that people seem to have to this, it feels like a device that's not quite sure what it wants to be, in that it looks like it's very productivity focused, but then again, running Android, it maybe doesn't quite have the software that people are looking for, and especially this outcry now, why doesn't it not have split screen multitasking? We want this like we have on our iPad Pro, like we can do on a Surface Pro. Why can't Android
if they had it on the Chromebook. As if they had it on the Chromebooks. Well, anyways.
I think it's a valid complaint, and I guess the good news there is Google's working on that, and we might get it next year, but not in time for the Pixel C. The pricing is a little higher than Nexus tablets have been in the past. It starts at $500 because it's $100 more than the Nexus 10's base model was. So it's a little pricier, but then still it's much, much more affordable than an iPad Pro or a Surface Pro. So just on the price alone, it's going to be more attractive to certain shoppers here.
Jaime sounds like he's chomping at the bit to defend this thing. Jaime, what's your feeling on this device?
So I'm not trying to defend it. Actually, it's the other way around. I really like the design of the tablet. It's gorgeous. I love that keyboard, that whole concept of a very strong magnet holding the keyboard, and you can actually wirelessly charge through the,
That's cool.
Attaching the keyboard to the tablet. That'll charge the keyboard automatically. That is really cool.
It is.
I guess my biggest problem is, Android. It still is Android on tablets. I mean, I have, and I'm not even going to mention which Android tablet it is, but I did buy my kids an Android tablet recently. And I'm shocked because the form factor of the tablet, and you guys remember back in the days of Honeycomb when it was designed to be landscape. But it's funny, there are applications on Android that still force the tablet to go into portrait mode.
Yeah.
So can you imagine using the Pixel C, putting it on landscape, attaching the keyboard, and then having the application force you to go on portrait?
Oh yeah, I don't have to imagine it. I've experienced that on a lot of tablets. Actually, but the same is true for, say, the iPad. Like when I'm using the iPad Pro in landscape, and I'm hopping over from SimCity to Instagram, and it forces me into portrait orientation. It's really
but you have to remember there is no Instagram app for the iPad. If you forced an iPhone app on the iPad, there's a compromise.
I'm not forcing it. Like, that's the thing. The user experience is such that I don't have to engage in any voodoo hackery. I do the same thing I do for any app. I go to the Apple App Store and download the app.
Actually, no. When you go to the App Store and you start searching for apps, you won't see any iPhone apps unless you explicitly tell the iPad to give you iPhone apps as an option.
Maybe I'm in the minority here.
That's not true at all. You just go to the App Store and it gives you two different subsets of categories, but it doesn't say, I don't have to go and enable a secret hidden function. It just gives me the app listing.
Actually, that was enabled, I think it was with iOS 8.1, where, again, probably because you've already had iPads before and you just restored, your Instagram app is already there. But if you try to search for it now, it won't be available unless you explicitly ask for iPhone apps.
No. I'm gonna give you a hard no on that, because every time I have an iOS device, I start from scratch, and that includes the iPad Pro. But anyway, it's a bad user experience either way you fling it. But speaking of, Stephen, make your point before I talk about my.
I was just going to say I would much rather have the presence of phone apps that might be using the wrong screen orientation for a tablet, just at least to have those apps and have the option then for the company behind the platform to go out of its way excluding my access to them. It's less than ideal, but sure. I'd rather have more options than fewer, even if they're better options.
That's very true. So I crashed a Google Nexus event in New York City the other day, which was not a press event. It was for enthusiasts. It was really cool. It was called the Nexus Open Studio. And I think they're still, what is today, Friday? I think the last one is being held tonight, because it was like a 4-day string of Nexus events. And it was just in this tiny little, exhibit space. And they invited Android enthusiasts. I got my invitation through Twitter.
And then crash it.
No, so I didn't crash it, but
I'm picturing you storming in. Fisher's here, bitches, and you throw down like a cloud of flash, green smoke.
You said it exactly the way he does it. Exactly the way.
Exactly how. Yeah, I came in through the skylight wearing a clown mask. Where's them free drinks?
No, it's actually more like a red and a sort of gold armor. Have you seen it?
Yes, indeed. God, I sure don't feel like an Iron Man after that. No, the thing is, I accepted the invitation and I went. So I didn't crash the party in that respect. But once I was inside, I quickly got the vibe that
this is not a press thing.
I knew that wasn't a press thing. And though there were, I went, Chris Velasco from Engadget joined me because we had been hanging out earlier in the day. So we were hanging out there, and he was like, at something else. He was like, let me come to this. I'm like, yeah, come to this. And we very quickly got the vibe that, there's not a lot of press around, and also nobody from Google is going to talk to us in an open manner if we go around saying, hey, we're press. So we just kind of basically didn't mention it at all and had these wonderful conversations with a lot of people, none of which I'm going to it wasn't like we got crazy insights into anything. Anytime we asked about future developments, they kind of gave the usual reply of we can't talk about future stuff. But we got so much background, all of us as a group got so much background into how the Nexus phones were designed from a hardware perspective, because that was the night I went, was the hardware night. And I mean, hearing the people in charge of the Nexus 6P and 5X design talk about how they had to get Huawei to adjust an entire range of machines or use an entire new range of machining tools in order to get this design out the door was fascinating. And I think for about 10 minutes, one of the guys talked about the process of sandblasting the aluminum on the Nexus 6P, which I feel like half the rest of the audience was kind of glazing over, and I was like, tell me more things about finishing the metal on this, because I was so amped. But it was a really cool event. But anyway, getting back to the Pixel C, there were two there, and they were not being actively showed up. Google did not seem to want to acknowledge that the Pixel C existed. They were there to manage the photo booth where you stood with the giant life-size droid icon and put funny hats on it, and then put a stupid mustache on your face.
They put the Pixel C to work.
Absolutely, they did. Yeah, so they took the shots with the Nexus 6P and exported them immediately to 2 Pixel Cs. Then you could look at your photo and email it to yourself from the Pixel C. I did that, and Cortana just thought I was talking to her, so that's not good.
Hey, Cortana, how you doing?
I did that a couple times. I took a number of photos, and each time to use the Pixel C again. And I am sort of really concerned about what the experience is going to be when we get ours, because Stephen, why don't you tell us what Ars Technica was talking about? A wonderful story from Ron Amadeo about how Android is most likely an afterthought when it comes to this.
Really in-depth analysis into where the Pixel C came from, looking back at rumors and comments we've heard, going back a year and a half now in development cycle, and the story seems to make a pretty strong case for the fact that Google started this project off as a pure Chrome OS device. They wanted to have a Chrome tablet. The touchscreen-based Chrome didn't really come together, and so the project was sort of scrapped and became a dual-boot Chrome Android tablet. Still based around the same sort of general project. They was calling it the Franken board because two things in one crammed together. And this is the direction development was taking up until midsummer of this year. And it sounds like only very recently did Google finally ditch the Chrome OS component of altogether. And by the time we got the announcement of the Pixel C at the end of September, Google might have only committed to having this pure Android tablet for like a month or two. So this could explain a lot of why we didn't get to see a ton of features from it there, why it still took several more months before it was ready to actually sell this thing, and why now that we have it, it's lacking some Android features that you would expect from not just a regular Android device, but from like the Nexus family, which this thing, even though it's not sharing Nexus name, you have the sense that it's going to have the same level of software polish and the latest features that you would expect from a Google-designed, Google-sold device like this. So I think this is going to churn up a lot of negative emotions about the Pixel C, and not necessarily unfairly. We know that Google's working on bringing more features to it through future software updates like system-wide OK Google Hot Word support. I don't know exactly when we're going to get those and if it's worth holding off on the Pixel C until you do, but the whole thing sort of feels like this last chance slapdash effort to salvage what they could from a failed project and get this thing out the door one way or the other. And I don't know if consumers are going to end up paying for that as a result and get less than the product they were hoping for.
Jaime, do you have a thought on the Pixel C from afar?
So I was going to ask, in your opinions, what do you think is better, Android or Chrome OS, if you had to choose?
I've never used
Chrome OS.
I've never used Chrome OS either.
I don't understand.
We're all unqualified.
It's very specific.
Okay, so if you have three geeks in the same podcast who admit to have never used Chrome OS, and our job is to review stuff.
Yeah, well, Joe Levi,
that's enough of a statement.
Joe Levi's looking at it right now. I think that's what Jules is reminding us in the chat, right? Oh no, all of us get a Chromebook. No, because Joe Levi's looking at that Lenovo built Chromebook, the really cheap one that's around the $100 and something price point.
Mm-hmm.
So some of us have used Chrome OS, just none of us on this podcast right now. I'd like to try and use it. I think it's going to be cool when they blend the two of them together. But right now, yeah, using Android and the Pixel C is a really suboptimal.
I swear they're not blending them.
But wait, but aren't they? I thought that was a big announcement. They were gonna, or they were gonna.
We heard rumors that they were going to be merged, and that wasn't going to happen. It might share features, but they're not. Chrome isn't going to be absorbed into Android or vice versa.
Then I'm way out. I thought that was their.
They denied that.
Okay. All right. Well, at any rate, who knows what the hell's going to happen with that? We have a Pixel C on the market right now that runs Android, and the thing that it does is, if you look at the hardware with your own eyes in 3D space in the real world, it's impossible not to be intrigued, I think. I mean, I was at a press briefing earlier in the day that the Nexus Open Studio was happening, and somebody from another outlet was using a Pixel C to take notes, and I was just having trouble paying attention to the actual briefing because I was looking at the Pixel C and being like, God, that's gorgeous. Because it is. It's really a very, very beautiful convertible tablet design with a very eye-catching battery meter on the back that is that multicolored sort of tiny sliver of light.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's
cool.
I mean, it looks, and the metal, or the plastic, I guess, is finished with this sort of metal. I mean, it looks amazing. And then you start to use it, and you're like, oh, this is just like Android Marshmallow. So that looks pretty, too. But it's got this really severe lag time in terms of tap response, where you tap and you're like, oh, did I miss tapping? Oh no, I didn't. It just took forever to catch up to me. And you go to look for the send button, and it's way up there in the corner because Android thinks it's just Android's just blowing itself up. Like, it feels like 2012 again, where Android, what was new then? What was Jelly Bean was on the horizon? So what was before Jelly Bean? I can't go backwards. Ice cream sandwich.
Oh,
yeah, where ice cream sandwich was pretty, but it would just blow itself up, and there was enormous amounts of space between the interface elements. It sort of looks like that.
Speaking of that, what do you guys think of the new the tablet on-screen navigation buttons in 601, where it's spreading them out to the corners, or it's better for your thumbs, I guess, but I don't know.
Oh, yeah, that was the thing. I think I noticed that on the Pixel, where the home and back buttons were on the lower left, but the multitasking button was all by itself on the lower right. Yeah, I mean, I think I didn't get a chance to hold it without the keyboard dock, so I think I'd like it if I was holding it in landscape in my lap or something. But I don't know. We're gonna get one.
I had totally not noticed that.
Yeah, I hadn't noticed it until I started using it either. So we'll get one. It's going to be cool. And just to touch on this before we move on from this topic, Google has come out and said, in probably one of the worst AMAs ever, that it is actually working on multi-screen for Android N. And
we knew this was in the works. We saw.
They said they're working on a lot of things, and from the way that I read the comment, it doesn't. It's not like if the guy says, yes, this is coming for Android N. The guy's like, we are doing a lot of things for Android N, and, obviously, what better time to do, this future feature than for the next version of Android, but it's not, I didn't feel that he committed to it coming out on Android N.
No, he didn't, but this is, I think, a lot stronger comment than we've got from, I don't think we ever heard Google talk about this officially. We saw that it was in the development and release of Android M, that you could, dig into the code and sort of enable the option in the option settings to make it work, even if the feature wasn't fully baked.
Yeah.
But there's a big difference between Android devs tinkering behind the scene and someone publicly saying in a questionnaire like this, like, we're working on this feature. I think that sets it up that we're going to get it. We're going to get it at one point in the future, whether it's Android N or later, I don't know, or Google's going to have to say, no, this didn't work. But they've taken a step further than just, we're playing around with this.
The vibe I got from the people, speaking to the people at the Google event, was that, yeah, it was probably going to be in N. I think it was
I
basically.
Can't wait.
But
I hope
that's
it's windowed. I don't want to split screen.
Maybe we'll debate that when it actually comes out. I don't know. But that's I heard that from a couple people there, that we could basically expect it from N. There's some stuff in the Ask Me Anything that is interesting to read that is linked to. Jules is sharing some of them in the chat right now. But my favorite comment of that AMA was basically somebody saying, like, this AMA is the biggest POS ever. You guys, if you guys want to run one of these, come in and answer the hard questions. Don't just like spin every hard question into, but it has USB-C. Like, it was, it got upvoted a billion times. And
was there a response to it ultimately?
No, of course not. There's not. It's never,
Don't feed the trolls, people.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, it's not Google's fault. Every company does this, but I'm getting tired of companies using the AMA format in Reddit as a way to, like, push the bright points of their product and just completely ignore legitimate questions about the future, because, even if it's engineers answering the AMA, they're of course hamstrung by their company's PR departments and all that kind of stuff. And
it just makes you wonder why these products get launched in the first place as well. These people try to defend the undefendable.
Yeah, but I don't mind that, because no, you're right. I mean, some of them shouldn't be pushed out the door at all, and some of them get pushed out way early and stuff. But really, like, what does AMA stand for? It's Ask Me Anything. If you're just using this format as a way to, like, crap out some stuff that could be put in a press release, I mean, then you're going against the intention of the things.
Yeah,
like,
it's an AMA. It's not an IGTAA.
What?
I'm going to answer anything.
Oh. Truth. Anyway, like I said, it's not exclusive to Google. It's just a lot of companies that are doing this, and it's like, if you're not ready for hard questions, don't do a friggin' AMA. So there. Let's talk about the Droid Turbo 2. I'm disappointed.
Finally.
You're not upset, are you, Michael?
Oh.
I'm upset. I'm a little upset. Nice, Jules. Yeah, so here's the thing. We get an email yesterday about...
You were so excited.
I was so jazzed. I get an email from Verizon. It's like, hey, we're putting out we're giving away 12,000 Star Wars tickets or something. We're doing something else that I forgot. And we're offering special edition Droid Turbo 2s in Star Wars livery. Like, you can build your own Droid Turbo 2 to resemble whatever her name is, whatever his name is, some stormtrooper,
and the Bally robot,
BB-8, the rolling robo droid, who's the best thing probably to come out of the robot space.
Adam from Girls, everybody.
This year. And I was so excited that I didn't even look at the photos. I didn't even look at the image dump. I just sent it to Steve, and I'm like, run this news story right now. It's amazing, because we had seen that before. Motorola did the the Droid 2 in a special R2D2 edition. Which kind of looks...
my fingers crossed we were going to get one of those this year. It's really not happening, but
it sort of looked pretty stupid, but it was still really cool, and it came with R2D2 sounds and stuff. And the whole backplate was customized, though.
Yeah,
it could be mistaken for nothing but an R2D2 phone. And I thought they were going to do the same. These are like, no, these are these are color configurations you can get in Moto Maker right now.
Yeah, like as soon as I got these press images, I fire up a tab with Moto Maker, and I'm like, is there something like a special shade here, or can I? And no, you can just completely recreate them in Moto Maker. You could have made one weeks ago.
Right. Like there's the Stormtrooper one is like the white soft touch with black trim. The whoever the evil guy is, I forgot what his name is with the red lightsaber.
Kylo Ren?
Yeah, Kylo Ren is a black soft touch with red trim, and they come with like custom wallpapers to match.
Admittedly, when you match these colors with the wallpaper, it looks good. Like if you weren't aware of Moto Maker and all the options there, you could mistake these for from the ground up custom phones.
Sure,
they kind of succeed, but then at the same time, we maybe wanted a little more, like a patterned back or something.
That's the thing. Like BB-8 has this awesome Aztec panel.
Yeah, so do that
design.
on it.
So do that on the back. Like make it a real thing. Like this just seems like a last-minute thing where somebody brought it up in a meeting 2 weeks ago, and we were like, well, we don't have the tooling for that. We're not going to be able to deliver that on time. But let's use existing colors and throw some wallpapers on there. Steven, what's the price on these? Are these more expensive or what?
I didn't hear anything about pricing, so I'm assuming it's exactly the same as your standard.
It should be exactly the same. It's just ridiculous.
I mean, at least Verizon had those cool custom Star Wars Google Cardboard viewers they're giving away a little earlier this month. Yeah. Those were, I mean, you couldn't get those anywhere else. Those are actual Star Wars design patterns on there, so that was neat.
Sure.
But again, you had to be a Verizon subscriber to get one. At least you don't have to buy a new smartphone. But.
Well, yeah, you've got to be a Verizon subscriber to get a Turbo 2 as well. I mean, basically in the States. So, it's a little bit of a letdown. I did bother every PR contact I had at Verizon and Motorola immediately to get one of these units before I discovered that they were
they're just
not what I thought. So, yeah, if we get one, I'll still show you what it looks like on video, and I'll still probably be cool with it. But just kind of, I wanted
that is so nice of you.
Thanks.
That is so nice of you.
Thanks, Jaime. Jaime, are you excited about the Snapdragon 820? Are you excited about a new HP device? Are you excited about Windows 10 Mobile?
Can you please don't. You're going to make me talk about the company that killed Palm, that killed the compact iPad lineup, which pretty much got us started as Pocketnow. Please, I have no kind words to.
You don't want him to come back?
Age.
You don't have faith that HP is going to.
I want compact to come back. I want Palm to come back. The last thing that I want to come back is HP. I mean, if anything, they're the assassin of mobile.
So this could be just a code name, but it might actually be an HP product. What do you think? This is called the what? The Falcon.
Yeah. Falcon, HP Falcon.
Nothing about this makes sense.
No, it doesn't.
No, Steven, were you the one that wrote this? I'm trying to remember.
No, it was Adrian.
No, it was Adrian. It was Adrian. It's just the specifications don't make sense because is it just me or is that 1 gig of 1 gig of RAM?
The RAM is too low.
We're talking about
the onboard storage is a weird.
We're talking about
storage is
it's a quad
gigs. It's too. When's the last time we saw a 4K Windows phone?
So I don't even think you can actually power that many pixels with just 1 gig of RAM.
That's got nothing to do with that.
No, you can.
Really?
It just wouldn't be. Yeah, the multitasking performance wouldn't be terrific. But yeah, there's an Adreno 530 GPU, so therefore an 820 SoC.
To me, this screams like it. If this is real, this sounds like it's some cobbled together board. It's an actual phone, like exposed. Here is our test board for the 820. We wired a screen onto it. We're just playing around with the hardware to see what it can do. If it's real, this could easily be a fake, but it doesn't seem like a commercial device in any way, shape, or form.
No, but the HP moniker is not surprising to me, though. If it's not just a random code name, which I don't think, I mean, that's weird. I mean, HP has made Windows hardware on the desktop and laptops for a very, very long time, and it wouldn't be altogether surprising to me to see it jump, sort of tiptoe back into the mobile world.
But that's sort of what Windows 10 Mobile is about, is helping to draw manufacturers back into the fold who may have not loved the idea of the smartphone platform with not a ton of users on it, where Microsoft was already driving the hardware there. You don't want to compete against the company running the platform. But with Windows 10, it's a little easier because you have the crossover with apps between the PC and mobile devices. And I think especially if you're already making laptops, it's a lot more appealing to start thinking, well, maybe I can play with handheld devices as well.
Yeah. There's other Windows 10 stuff actually happening here too, which we can talk about. We'll talk about this AP thing if it ever comes to pass. But Windows 10 Mobile insiders are getting free hardware to test Continuum, which is pretty awesome. The same thing is happening with the Lumia Voices crowd. And by the way, I finally got my welcome kit, so I'm testing 950 with Continuum, even though I've done it already. I'm testing it more. But this is different. So if you're not like Lumia Voices, you needed to be like an influencer or something. But apparently this is just a kit that was sent out to Windows insiders who have been active participants in the insider program and completed a survey. Is that right?
Yeah, we heard something about this. I guess last month they were looking to get some of the people who had been more active with the Windows Insider process to bring them on board for a little more in-depth testing, not just giving them early access to software releases like anyone could sign up for, but maybe also having them play with hardware or just other more exclusive software things. It wasn't really clear what direction this was going to take, but they're already moving forward with this project. People have signed up. Microsoft's contacting them and hooking them up with free hardware. Now you're expected to test it and contribute it, but this is a great perk, especially if you've been a loyal Windows Phone user for years now, in order to keep you engaged and help keep you at the cutting edge without having to outlay a lot of money on your own behalf.
Yeah, there's no particular wisdom to be gotten from the comments, but pretty typical exchange in the comments on this piece. Just in time to put it on eBay before Christmas.
Yeah.
To which somebody replied, "Yeah, why not? List it under Apple Watches." And I'm sure that more excellent content will come from that thread. That's something we shouldn't shut down immediately right now.
What we heard earlier when the signups first opened talked about maybe giving users access to hardware that had been announced or confirmed somehow but wasn't quite ready for release. So like if this had been going back a month or two earlier, maybe following the announcement of the 950 but before sales open, they would get these users to start doing some real-world testing. I guess give a few weeks head start to work out last-minute bugs, that sort of thing. So maybe by the time the Surface phone arrives, we'll be seeing that sort of thing with that hardware.
Yeah. Fun fact: we're getting a 950 finally. 950 XL, not a 950.
Yay. I thought we had a 950.
Yeah, we have a lot of 950. It's crazy. Jaime, are you slated for a review device from the Windows 10 world? Because I should like you to give it a try. I think you'd like to use Continuum and such.
Yeah. Fine, just ship it over.
If I have to.
Rolling thunder of enthusiasm from Central America.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Fine, send it over. I just don't want to sound desperate.
No, I want to know.
So it's so funny. I was reading these news and I was like, crap. I should have been more active in the Insider program because, you remember when we installed Windows 10 Mobile, the first build on our Lumia 820s? Did you install it on yours, Michael?
I installed it on my 830. Yeah.
Yeah. 830 was it? Yeah. It was my 830 as well. And sadly, because I never updated to newer builds, because I just put the phone in the drawer.
You just thought it was crap
now it's stuck. Now it's stuck. I can't get it out of that mode, and so I was like,
"Oh, you're on one of the builds that wasn't able to automatically update." Yeah. You can wipe it clean with the Lumia Restore tool or whatever, the Lumia Recovery tool, and
I just need a Windows computer. So
right.
I'm wondering. So if we hook you up with a Continuum, do you have because you're a Mac guy, they love their all-in-one hardware. Do you have a spare monitor lying around?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do. It's the dual monitor for the iMac.
Because this is the problem I think that Microsoft might be dealing with, is some people just aren't going to have these, a keyboard, mouse, monitor on hand to plug in and make this happen.
Right.
But we're good.
I've got this. It's really becoming popular. A lot of monitors right now are coming out 23 inches, and they are also TVs. So I actually have that at the office.
There you go.
Oh God! I went to the Microsoft store last night because I was killing time between doing something else, and I wanted to look at the 950 XL before we got one in, and they had. If you go to a Microsoft store, if you haven't been to one, go to one to see what the Continuum demo looks like. It's not just a phone wired up to a monitor running Continuum that you can play with. When you walk up to it, you know how all the phones usually have the retail animation loop running where it's like, I can do this. Look at this. They went You went like 150% with the Continuum stuff. Like the monitor is showing an approximation of a Windows desktop, and it's a Dell curved monitor too. So you're already like, whoa. And it looks like it's running Continuum, but it's not. It's a retail animation with, like, you know, the default Windows wallpaper that has the Windows logo shining the beams of light into a dark room.
Yeah.
It's that, except it's animated. So like the beams of light are wavering, like as though they're like there's heat being piped in, and there's like lightning outside the window and stuff. Like, I feel like there should be an Aerosmith song playing over.
Yeah, Mountain Dew dispenser built in.
And like the start menu is there, but it's like vibrating with awesome intensity. And when you look at the phone that's connected to this whole getup that's laying on the table, it too is running this thing with like a Windows logo with Emperor Palpatine Force lightning bolts erupting from it. And like, it's like the whole content. Like if they set the entire display on fire, it wouldn't be more exciting than it is right now.
They have like a Jenkins ladder behind it sending off sparks. And,
yeah. They should have a Tesla coil right next to it just for shit. Like, fit right in. Oh, Jules found it. How did you? Yeah, that's basically what they're.
Where is it? Where is it?
It's on Jules's media card. Like it's. Basically, it's even more intense than that, but yeah, that's basically what it looks like.
It's extreme.
Oh God, no, it's awesome though, and I had a good time looking at it. They're certainly making Continuum look very appealing.
Were other customers there similarly impressed? Do you think? Is Microsoft catching the public's eye?
Nobody was there. No. Nobody was in the Microsoft store. But it was like 7 p.m. on a Thursday or whatever, so I didn't expect anybody to be at the mall. But anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about actually something that might be that's a little sad and a little happy all at the same time. Do you want to fill us in on this, Jaime? I haven't heard enough of your voice this show, and that's your moderator's fault. I take the hit. Tell us about the HTC Vive delays. And
are you disappointed with the news? I mean,
of course
first
I am.
of all, we were waiting.
To have one already.
By the way, you are the only one that's actually tested it Pocketnow, right?
Yeah, at the moment, yes, but I'm trying to get another opportunity for one of you guys to try to CES.
Okay, because I'll be there.
Yeah.
You owe me.
I do.
You were giving me the opportunity, and I actually ditched it because I didn't see you excited. But yeah, so the HTC Vive is about the only product that I've ever seen capable of making Iron Man cry.
Oh. It's true.
All the feels.
If I could describe that moment. But yeah, we were waiting for it to launch in Q1, pre-orders at least for consumers, and now HTC is saying that it's going to be looking to be more like Q2. And, they provided some excuses. They're committed to a better experience.
It was supposed to be out before the end of the year, initially.
Yeah, true. End of the year first, then it was Q1 2016, and now apparently it's going to be Q2. Mm-hmm. And the only excuse is they're committed to, providing the most immersive experience ever. And, is it just me? Yes, I am disappointed, but because of your response, Michael, I feel that I can't really just gag HTC over it, because it's not like if they're launching your typical VR headset here.
No, it's true. It is a one-of-a-kind experience that it's like, I mean, I keep wanting to strap on other VR headsets just to get myself up to speed with what the latest is. I want to try the latest VR.
You're jonesing. You got to get the Oculus Rift to take the edge off.
Yeah, no, that's the thing. I want to try them to see if it's still the same situation where they were all just so completely blown away by the Vive.
So just to give everybody an idea, so Michael was in a private meeting where he was explaining what the Vive is, and he was not excited. Then we went to the Samsung booth when the Galaxy S6 was announced. We went to the Samsung booth. We had an option to use the Gear VR, and Michael completely ditched it. He didn't want to use it, so I was the one that got to use it. Then we went to the HTC Vive showroom, and Michael was like, I'm not going to waste my time. Just go do it. And I was like, all right, if you were in the private meeting and you just don't care about it, then what am I going to go do in there? Just go inside and get it over with. Mm-hmm. And then I see Michael come out with tears, like his eyes were like, all right, you're not acting, are you?
No, I was, my eyes were like popping out of my skull in awe, amazement, and also frustration, because I knew Jaime was going to be asking me about it, and I've said this a couple times, but there was no way I could put it into words.
You haven't been there, man. You don't know.
I'm like, man, you just got to try it yourself. You just got to. And then Jaime was immediately frustrated that he had not seized the opportunity.
I hate you.
No, but it's unlike anything I've used before, so if they need the extra time, I'm absolutely willing to give them the extra time, but that's me. That's someone who's tried it, and as we've said before, that's part of the challenge of selling a device like this. It's the same challenge as selling a wearable. It's like until you've used it, you don't understand what it is. And so you have no reason to say, like, yeah, I will give you hundreds and maybe thousands of dollars for all this equipment.
That's a good question, what this is going to cost. HTC has been clear. It's going to be more on the expensive side, but we haven't even heard a ballpark figure, I don't think.
Right. Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see. Maybe hopefully they'll
And are you going
be
to
a
need a
smoother
new
rollout than
PC
the
to
pricing
power this thing?
I don't know. Yeah, right.
A new graphics card.
You know, you're making a very interesting point right now with how difficult it is to sell this product. Have any of you guys watched the movie Cloud Atlas?
No.
You guys have to watch it. It's from the Wachowski brothers. You know, the guys that made The Matrix.
Yeah, and more importantly, the guys who made Jupiter Ascending.
Yeah, whatever. And they also made Astro
Speed
Boy.
Racer.
but you know, so Cloud Atlas is this really cool movie, and the reason why studios in the U.S. were not willing to pick up the movie and why it became an independent film is because they just couldn't figure out a way to market it. And every time that I talk to Michael, and you remember that podcast that we were at from Tech Geeks after that?
Mobile
Geeks.
Mobile Geeks.
Yeah, for Mobile Geeks. And everybody had tested the Vive. Everybody was going crazy over it, and nobody could really describe what it was.
Right. Yeah, and that's
the
big challenge.
That is a challenge.
I don't get what's so difficult. It's 3D, immersive, high frame rate.
Right, but that's that's not sexy, right? That's not, you can't say.
Super sexy. It's alternate reality in a helmet.
I'm just trying to put myself into the skin of like a regular consumer who's like, all right, why should I care about this? We've seen VR. VR's never caught on. It was like I saw the first VR headsets in the '80s. Why should I care about this?
They were awesome then. You ever played Dactyl Terror on Virtuality?
Definitely not. Definitely not.
Yeah.
Dactyl Nightmare.
Yeah, that's another problem because in the media card right now we have a photo of somebody using VR. Every other publication when they run a Vive story, it's somebody like you distinctly
that doesn't look attractive
to get my photo taken in the Vive headgear because it just looks ridiculous. It looks A, ridiculous, B, just like every other stupid VR like headset, and it's not. You have to be inside the thing and you have to read about the accounts of using it to understand why it's different. But we're gonna have 4 podcasts about this in a row probably when it actually goes to market. So let's move on. Let's talk about HTC's revenue rebound, which is good news in the short term, but in the long term probably more like, yeah. All right. I don't mean to set it up like that. It's good news. Hit us with the good news first, Stephen.
Yeah, HTC's monthly income is up. It was up last couple months. It's continuing to go up now. It's now the highest point it's been since May. On the surface, that sounds like very, very good news. In reality, it's not bad news, but then again, looking at past years, HTC's revenues always kind of have this slump from summer into fall and start coming up again by the end of the year. It's good they didn't keep going down, but we don't know if they're going up enough to really propel the company out of this feeling like brink of financial collapse it's been on. I think it's doing the right things. It's reaching out into new markets here. Obviously, Vive. We've talked earlier about, not on this podcast, but maybe in previous weeks about it's worked with more wearables and fitness devices. Has this Under Armour Bluetooth scale thing that's coming out, and it's weird, but at least the company's trying new things and trying to find new sources of revenue. Right now, though, I think it's too early to say that it's out of the woods. It's way too early to say that it's out of the woods. It's in the right direction, but I don't know if this move has the momentum to continue this trend like needs to happen if HTC really wants to get off this shaky ground.
Everybody said the same thing when Steve Jobs revealed the first iPod, and then when he revealed the first iPhone. It's like Apple, a computer company. Why are they doing a music player? I like what HTC's doing. They're branching out into different things and just figuring out a way to survive. I like it.
I think the moderating comment that a lot of people are pointing out is that they're up month to month, but they're down 40% year over year.
Yeah.
That's that's to be expected after the spring. I think somebody was saying that, but I'm sure there was also a big spike in income after the M9 came out. It's just the new phone, and it's like, no, that's not true. Like that was one of the big indicators that the M9 was trouble because they actually made less money in the month following the M9's release than they had in the month following the M8's release. So, I don't know. It's not going to be determinable until we get some more data over time. But I think it's going to be interesting to see how the A9 does overall. We're about to get a US version of it, so we're going to look at it for maybe a review rebuttal and finally test out the LTE, because we weren't able to do that with the old one. And I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. I was just looking up the stories on that other stuff you were talking about, Stephen, and I can't get it to load right now, the other HTC stuff. But we will be talking
about perfume.
Perfume. Oh yeah. What's that going to be? So Jaime, hit us with that. I don't have it loaded up.
But it's just a big question mark yet. So we hear that there's a code name HTC Perfume. We're not really sure we should call it the M10. Sadly, all the rumors point to on Twitter is that hey, it'll probably be the next flagship, codename Perfume, and that it'll run Android 6.1, and it would be Sense 8.0 on top of Android 6.1. But not much else is provided actually, sadly.
Hardware just seems like guesswork at the moment.
Yeah, it's all guesswork right now. So right now that's pretty much all we know. Codename Perfume, and we wonder exactly what was the code name for the A9, by the way. Does anybody know?
A9? I think we did know.
Yeah, we know.
Aero, HTC Aero.
Yeah.
Aero, yeah.
Aero. That was the code name. So I'm trying to guess, is there any sort of a pattern? So where did Perfume come from? Is there a pattern to it or anything? But sadly there isn't.
No.
Sadly, there isn't. I'm just surprised that they're already mentioning Android 6.1, and that Sense 8.0 will be on top of it, meaning,
the
Sense bit is more surprising to me, because there was a 5.1, as I think Adrian points out here. There was a 5.1 very soon after there was a 5.0. It landed the March following, but that's because they had a lot of bugs to fix in 5.0. 6 seems.
I just wonder if now that we have these monthly Android security updates, we'll see a less pressure to move up to that next decimal point, and then a lot of the the pressing issues that Google might feel it has to address with Android will come out as these incremental security fixes rather than a big 0.1 release.
Yeah, that could be. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no.
Microsoft Edge doesn't want to load the rundown, so somebody tell me what the hell is next.
Microsoft Edge doesn't want to load. Ooh, that sounds familiar.
We're talking about bumps, man.
Talking about bumps?
Bumps.
Bumps. God, right. So Apple came out with a really good-looking accessory, and for some reason the world just can't see it. The world can't see.
Yeah, we're blind to the genius here.
Design.
Wait a second. You're telling me that case is not magical?
Right, and I don't understand. I don't know. The only place it looks uglier than it does in all of the in-hand shots is in one of the official renders where the phone is half out of it, so you can see that it's flexible.
Yeah.
And it looks like a whale was halfway through the process of eating a ship and it got blown in half.
I remember it looks so bad. You guys remember the Moto, which was it, the Moto Q9? You remember that there was an extended battery pack that was so thick that an extra battery door. I remember the Q9 had such a bad battery that you really needed that extra battery pack. But when you put that phone in your pocket, that hump looks so weird across your pocket. You were simply not willing to wear the damn thing.
Man, I've completely forgot about that phone. You are right. That's exactly what this is like.
I don't know.
I actually have a battery pack of those in my drawer. I have a Q9 in my drawer, by the way.
Jeez.
I think there's definitely a market for these ugly battery packs that don't fit in flush with devices here. They've sort of had some popularity with smartphones, not a ton, but laptops. I'm constantly seeing people who have dissatisfied with the default laptop battery and get one that's, it bumps out a little, it breaks the lines.
But you're not wearing it. Yeah, but you're not wearing it. That's the difference.
Yeah, I think with a laptop that you are using in your lap or on a desk, there's much more tolerance for something that's going to jut out and look really stupid. This is something that you're holding.
Well, it's interesting. Then we saw Tim Cook comment on a lot of the reaction to this and trying to defend it, saying, this was an intentional design. This is so the case is easy to get on and off. But he also mentioned something about how this is not necessarily going to be a daily use kind of thing. That we're not envisioning people. We believe in the iPhone's battery life, and that normally you're only going to charge this thing once a day, hopefully. I don't know how realistic that may be for every user out there.
Really?
But he sort of envisioned it as, when you need the power, when you're going to be like away from a power source for a while, then you can slip this thing on. So maybe the fact that it isn't going to be an everyday use thing kind of lessens the impact of its less than desirable aesthetics.
I don't know. I don't think sure, you can justify
such a weird thing
this
for Apple
however
to
you
do.
want if you've built it, but it is such a weird thing for Apple to do. Like normally,
third party wouldn't be breaking a sweat.
Absolutely, because we see a ton of ugly third-party stuff.
Yeah.
But like this is Apple. Normally, I'm very willing to, because it's usually true. Like Apple does one thing, whether it's good or bad, and like the internet just leaps on them and just destroys it because it has an Apple logo on it, and there's that ridiculous mentality among people. But this thing is genuinely ugly, and for a company that produces some genuinely beautiful hardware, that's very, very surprising. And I guess it's not unprecedented. I think a lot of people thought the iPhone 6C with its or 5C with its special case was pretty ugly. Certainly, there are questionable decisions about the charging port location on the new Mighty Mouse or Magic Mouse or whatever, and the charging the Apple Pencil through the bottom of the iPad Pro. It's Apple's doing some funny stuff. But this is so heinous. This deserves special condemnation because it is the ugliest thing I've ever seen that company make. And maybe, I don't know, Jaime, am I overstating the case there? Are some of those old Power Books maybe uglier from like 2004 or whatever, whenever the hell those came out?
It's hard to tell, Back then, the rest of the computers were uglier. So anything that Apple was making was already looking better than anything it competed with. But right now, that's not the case between this iPhone case and a Mophie, for example. And over here, it's very common to see people using Mophies.
Sure.
And the cool thing about a Mophie, is you can actually tell it, okay, I want you to top the battery of the iPhone first. And then you could just remove the Mophie, leave it behind once the Mophie's battery's dead, and just continue using the iPhone without the case.
Sure.
Whereas here, the biggest problem you have is you can't really take that case off because you can't really tell the iPhone what to be using, first. You can't tell it to either use the battery case or use the phone's battery, and that's really where it's like, okay, this is the stupid. It's not the smart battery case; it's the stupid one. The only reason why you would want a bulky case is to snap it on for a little while, have it charge your phone, and then take it off whenever you don't need it anymore, as you can with a Mophie.
Can I tell you that that Tilt has a really good solution for that for the Galaxy S6? Adam Dowd wrote about it, but it's a battery pack that is also a two-stage case. So when the phone is in the battery pack, it is using the battery pack's power, which is an enormous reservoir of power that lasts forever. Then when you don't want that added bulk, you slide the phone out of the battery pack, but the phone still has an intermediate level case on it. So the phone is still getting a bit of protection, even though it's much, much smaller. And the case does not interfere with its wireless charging ability. And both that case and the battery pack case have embedded wireless charging capability. So it's just this integrated charging solution that makes a whole lot of sense. And I've seen another similar one for the iPhone called, Stacked? Did I send you that, Jaime, to ask them to get a sample?
You did.
Or we might see it at CES or something like that. Yeah, so there are other better solutions out there, here's my point. And I'm stunned that Apple would churn out, in the face of such competition, such a product that, just would probably look better if you melted it a little,
At only $99.
Yeah.
It just sells itself.
Anyway, let's talk about something else. I don't know. Let's go to the Q&A real quick because, wow, I'm going to turn off Hey Cortana because I don't know what I said just then, but it sounded apparently a lot like
our interest.
Hey Cortana, and there she goes again. Sorry. Michael, I'm watching this from my iPad. Mark Eric Lane says Jaime is correct. That is good news. Jaime, you are right, apparently, about the Instagram app thing being in a different category. I don't know what you people are talking about because all I have to do is search Instagram and it's right there. So I don't know. Maybe I have a special iOS account. I don't know. But several people in the chat said you're right. So Jaime, you're right. I'm wrong. And you're welcome.
Gonna have to live with it.
Congratulations. While we're talking about Jaime's things, John Strasky says, loving Pocketnow Fitness. What devices are you planning to test from a fitness standpoint on future episodes?
Ooh, all right. So the episode that's going live tomorrow is of the Fitbit Surge. Everybody was asking for a Fitbit to go live on as soon as possible, and that's the one that's going up next.
Word up.
Cool.
Can you give
us
a sneak peek about your conclusions?
Well, I can give you a sneak peek of this. So, a really good friend of mine, who's a girl professional bodybuilder, is actually going to be modeling for this video. She's actually been a Surge customer. She's
Awesome.
owned the Surge, and she uses it for training. She's been using it for the last 6 months. Actually, she was the one that I approached to, and because I had never really seen the Surge up until like 5 or 6 months ago when I saw it on her, and I was like, oh, that's a really cool watch. What is it? And she's like, oh, it's a Fitbit. And so that's actually the reason why I asked for a review unit about a month ago. And so yeah, that's going to be it. In the case of the Surge, it's my only teaser will be don't call it a smartwatch, but it's a really, really great product for everything else.
You can't use that as a subhead. We already used it for the band. FYI.
Yeah, no, and it's a totally different. It's not really your average smartwatch. It doesn't even compete with the band. It's not out to compete with the band or Android Wear or the Apple Watch. This is in a category of its own, competing against Garmin, Polar, and other products like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's going to be the next episode, and then after that we've got other products like the Gear S2 that's coming soon, and we're trying to make it a weekly segment. It's just it's really not that easy because you actually have to go test them. You actually have to go train with them. And the biggest problem with when you're training is, and the funniest part is obviously you have to compare the metrics of one product with another. So I can't really tell you, how accurate the heart rate sensor is if I'm not using an H70 Polar chest strap, which is extremely uncomfortable. So there's a lot of fun into doing this.
Strength training with the Runcible.
Oh. Hey, I think they changed the OS on the Runcible, by the way.
Oh, good.
Remember the news that the Firefox OS, the Firefox is discontinuing Firefox OS efforts? Well, the Runcible ran on Firefox OS, but in some shows that they were showing the Runcible off at in Japan recently, it was running another OS, which the name I can't recall right now, and I'm not going to look it up on Twitter, but
Android fork or?
Yeah, it looks like an Android fork of some kind. Jaime is running out of time, so he's got to go. But before he does, I just wanted to say, Mark Eric Lane says Jaime is just hiding his face because it's Friday. He's already had a few.
No, that would be Michael. That would be Michael.
That's not me. I've had coffee and seltzer, and actually, this is the worst flavor of Polar Seltzer I've had yet. It is plum-based. It sort of tastes like Palinka, but I'm not getting any zip out of it, so I don't know why I'm having it.
Palinka. Why is it that every time I've drank Palinka, I don't remember anything after that?
It's because it's working as advertised. That's why. Jaime, and we just talked about the battery case, so that clears out the Jaime questions in the Q&A. We got to let him go because he's got stuff to do, as we do. We got to get to listener mail first, but we're going to let Jaime go first. Jaime, thanks for joining us, sir.
Such a pleasure. Thank you for having me. Take care, guys.
See you later, man.
Bye-bye.
Steven, it falls to you and me to cover listener mail.
I think we can handle it.
That's what we're doing right now. I think we can handle it too. I'm going to look at the Q&As to pick the show closers outers. You want to read the first piece of listener mail while I do so?
Yeah. RS writes in the latest podcast, you guys were talking about how people who could really use a smartwatch. At least I think I heard that. I had a career in the military before I was injured, and my career was cut short. And after a couple surgeries, physical therapy, and all that fun stuff, I'm somehow back on my feet. Good to hear. Now I'm a dedicated bass fisherman. I fish competitively, and sometimes the weather is not as nice as I would like, and I'm forced to keep my phone stowed away in a dry compartment on a boat. I tried using a life-proof case, but after dropping 3 iPhones in the lake, I gave up on trying to use my phone on the water. However, a smartwatch might be, it sounds like it'd be extremely useful. It's strapped to your wrist and all, it's not going to fall. But I can't afford a smartwatch on my VHX. I'm asking my wife for an Apple Watch for some time. I mean, do you really have to eat dinner every night? No, and ramen's delicious. My situation is one you might not hear about very often, but it definitely would benefit from a smartwatch. Very true. You're probably going to have to, depending on the watch you're using, keep your phone on the boat somewhere, but like you said, you can stow it away somewhere dry. Although I'm not sure you need to go this far. There might still be some options for making your phone useful with a waterproof case if you attach it to like a tether of some kind. I mean, fall overboard, but just pull it back on. You know?
No, I think I love this is such a
You're a
great
seagoing man,
use
Michael.
case for. I am a seagoing man, and if I can recall several situations before the advent of smartwatches that I really would have appreciated one. I used to be on, usually the biggest sailboat race of the year or whatever would be on a terrible weather day, and the wind would be howling, and there'd be salt spray everywhere, and rain and all that. And my phone would be like in my internal pocket beneath 3 layers of clothing and the slicker or whatever, so I couldn't get at it. If I'd had a smartwatch on, I would have been much better off.
But you could get like an arm thing, like something like this, but if it had like a screen in the front, and you just sort of slide it on, and you get your phone and fish.
Steven, you have a nylon Pip-Boy. I love it. That's really excellent. I like that a lot. You're right. There are many accessories to choose from, but I do believe that a smartwatch would be uniquely suited to this particular use case. And
I wonder if they have like those those fish radars that you drop in the water.
Yeah, the fish finders. Yeah.
They have those that connect to apps. They must.
They must.
Yeah.
They absolutely must. Yeah.
I wonder if there's a smartwatch version of an app that works with that.
Listen, RS, thank you for writing in. That is a really, really cool use case for a smartwatch, and it's in the same vein as all the stuff I was asking for last week of this outside of the normal white collar use cases where it's like, I can look at it on the bus or when I'm driving. No, I want to hear about if you're like an arc welder and you use a smartwatch, I want to hear about it.
What smartwatch will melt the least?
Yeah, or if you use an arc welder. Not if you are an arc welder. If you are an arc welder, I want to hear from you too. I don't know if they're that smart. Yeah.
Palpatine action.
Yeah, Chris from Buffalo writes in, hello, Pocketnow crew. I just got that, Steven. I'm trying to decide what my first smartwatch should be. I want to get something decent but doesn't break the bank if I don't end up liking it. Right now, my front runner is the Pebble Steel. Love the look of it, and the battery life is very appealing. Would you recommend the Pebble Steel this far into its life cycle, or something different? If it factors in, my daily driver is a Verizon LG G4. Thanks for the info. Keep up the great work. You guys are the reason I got so addicted to podcasts. Thank you, Chris. That's awesome news, and thank you for listening. I think the Pebble Steel is still a pretty good buy, but I think I would suggest the Pebble's Time Steel over it, just because it is newer. Yes, it's more expensive, but I think it'll be supported for longer.
How expensive it is?
I don't know. Jules says it's 130 versus 250, so that's pretty sizable.
Yeah, and Steel is just about to finally get its firmware update that'll bring it up to the same UI that's running on the new Times. So there's still life in this guy.
And when did the Time come out?
First time was like April-y? No, earlier than that.
Yeah, it's been a long time, so that's a big old gulf of time, and who knows, with the next software update, the old Pebble Steel might not even get it.
Well, fair enough.
Jules is saying the Pebble Time, just straight up Pebble Time, not Steel. I can't recommend it. If you're looking at the Pebble Steel, odds are you have an eye for at least you care somewhat about aesthetics, and no one who cares, I think, anything about aesthetics could buy a Pebble Time.
We had a question about Pebble in the Q&A here somewhere.
Pebble Time Steel is actually quite good looking. I'm wearing one now, in fact. And yeah, Jules has demonstrated several times during this show that his and my tastes are not. I think he tried to stick up for the Apple battery pack. He owns a V10. Jules, you and I have nothing in common. Let's stop this now. Let's stop pretending. No, but I need to get dinner with you. That's all right. It'll be fun. You didn't stick up for the pack. Somebody in the Q&A did. What were you sticking up for, Jules? Something else that was ugly and nasty or something. I don't know. I don't remember. What were you trying to? Did you find it in the Q&A, Stephen? About the Pebble?
Someone earlier was asking something about the Pebble Time round and if we're ever going to play around with those.
That was. I wanted to select that, and then I selected it and didn't answer it, and then and then I cleared it. I stood up for your mother, Trebek. Yeah, someone was asking if we were going to cover the round. I bought the round. No.
What are we waiting for?
Different sequential story. I asked for the round, and they didn't send me one, and I bought one, and it arrived way late, like seriously, like a month after the other reviews had landed. And I thought very briefly about squeezing it into the coverage cycle, and then I used it for 4 days, and I was like, no, this is a useless device. The reason you get a Pebble is partially because of the outstanding battery life, and while this is cute and tiny and whatever, it's not. It lasts 2 days, and yeah, it charges in like an hour, which is great, but it's why I don't know. It was no longer compelling, and that much later, after all the other reviews had landed, we wouldn't have been able to get any meaningful
Fair enough.
views. So I was like, peace. Good day to you, Pebble Time round. It's actually on eBay right now, and I'm keeping the Time Steel though because I do like that, and I still like Pebble, despite the fact that they just ignore
So
me
it's
now.
not the color screen that's killing the battery. It's just the round one for some reason.
Yeah, because it's got a smaller. It's much smaller. Like it's tiny. It's a tiny little
actual
pancake.
watch.
Yeah. But yeah, if you like it, you should get it. I'm not saying you shouldn't. It's just not for me.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, Ian writes in. This is your turn to read, Stephen. Sorry, I almost stole your reader mail.
Mm-hmm. Ian writes in, I've been a Sony fanboy for a long time, ever since the Sony Ericsson era, and I'm looking to upgrade to an Xperia Z5 once my contract expires in the middle of next year. I think this time Sony's straight at something spectacular with the Z5, and that's what I've been holding out since the Z. Oh my god, if you're holding out since the original, this is definitely time to upgrade. However, I don't hear much talk about it on tech shows as of recent, and am I the only one who thinks that people should give Sony a try? What say you? I think more people should give Sony a try. I think it's a little bit Sony's, I think it's more than a little bit Sony's fault that more people aren't, just because it's so dang hard to get your hands on these phones.
Took the words right out of my mouth, especially here in the U.S. And I wanted to say that trying to chase down the Runcible coverage from Japan has given me renewed insight into how Americentric I can sometimes be.
Yeah.
I mean, we're formerly a U.S. publication, so it started in that, but also it's just like there's a lot of stuff to cover that in North America. But Sony doesn't try in North America, or at least hasn't met with any success in terms of its trying. But it is still big elsewhere. A lot of European readers ask us to cover it more, obviously in Japan. So I'd like to try it out more. Tony just finished reviewing the Z5 Premium, though. We have a Z5. Do we have a Z5? We planned on doing the Z5. We planned on doing the Z5 Compact. Had a little problem there, but it's tough to justify from a return on investment standpoint, guys.
It just kills me that Sony's phones are in this lower tier position they are now. I grew up loving Sony electronics. My first CD player was a Sony boombox that I still have, and it still works. It's just really well made. Mm-hmm. And Sony has this huge market share when it comes to video games, great media production. I mean, Sony Pictures. It has all these great components to it that make it seem like it should be really easy to have this vertical integration between these different Sony divisions here and attack the smartphone market in a way that few other companies could. Samsung has great penetration in the market, but there's different aspects of it than Sony does, and it angers me a little that Sony hasn't been able to capitalize on this.
Yeah, no, me too. I talk about my mini disc player sometimes from the late 90s, early aughts.
Yeah.
What a great device that was. And and Sony makes really, really pretty smartphones too. But I think also, in addition to all that stuff we mentioned already, we're in the 5th generation of the same industrial design now. I can't get excited about a Sony ZX product anymore. I mean, it's all variations on the same symmetrical, featureless rectangle. It's like, oh, it has frosted glass now. Okay.
Honestly, I'm fine with that.
Okay, it was like
it worked better, I guess.
You're fine with it, but call me a child. It's true in some ways,
mm-hmm.
but I need some degree of newness. I need some
4K.
Kind of novelty. Right, but it's not a 4K phone.
I know.
It's a 4K display that Tony rightly criticized because none of the content is actually 4K.
The pooch on that.
Yeah. So, I think it's tough to get excited about Sony phones now for a couple different reasons, and it's not just that we're just down on Sony. It's like Sony hasn't done anything truly exciting in a while. So there. That's my view. What say you? I'm a poet. I didn't know it. Q&As. Is Continuum noticeably different between the 950 and 950 XL? Asked John Fraser. I'm really excited to answer this question.
The XL has more RAM, right?
The XL does not have more RAM.
No?
I thought it did.
Oh.
They both have 3 gigs.
Oh my.
So that's a little bit of a disappointment. It just has the beefier Snapdragon 810 versus the 808. That's an extra 2 cores and a different GPU, I believe. So that should help. I hope it does. I wish it had more RAM. Or that the display dock had a dedicated GPU or added RAM as well, like the Surface Book, like I think you suggested, Stephen, a couple weeks ago. But John, I don't know the answer yet. We don't have an XL yet in the office, but we're getting one. By God, we're getting one, and I'm so excited.
Hell or high water.
That's right. I think it's on its way to me now. So I'm very excited to try it out, and I'll let you know. I'll be sure to talk about it a lot. It'll be great. Jonas Gamal points out that Microsoft is asking people to vote for casual games they should redesign at microsoftstudios.com/Microsoft Casual Games, which sounds very, very, very cool and is awesome. Oliver Boudet asks if he should get the Sony Smartwatch 3 or wait for the Sony Smartwatch 4. I think just given the timing of a possible smartwatch 4 release. Maybe waiting is a better idea. Steven, that came out at CES last year, right? Smartwatch 3?
I'm trying to remember. That's
trying to
the
remember.
only Android Wear one that has NFC?
One of the only ones. It may be the only one. It came out at either CES or MWC. So it either came out in January or it came out in early March. So given that, if there is going to be a 4, it's going to come out in the next few months probably. So probably wait, Oliver, I would say, just to see what the new one looks like. And it's Sunil. Well, I'm just going to say, Sunil, will you be participating in the Priv giveaway? Captain 2 phones. Maybe Captain 3 phones further on.
Conflict of
And
interest.
Not allowed. I want to.
Can you participate in my giveaway and I can participate in yours?
Sure. Yeah,
okay.
Let's enter each other's giveaways. That'll be fun. And I thought I was going to answer one other thing. Oh, no, it's not a question. This is Mark Eric Lane points out.
Oh, yeah.
A non-tech reminder that's gotten a lot of upvotes in the chat. The Project for Awesome charity drive, that's Project the number 4 Awesome, is going on right now. Go over there, donate some money. Every dollar goes to save the children and other great causes. So, boom. Do it if you want to do it. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying.
I'm saying?
You know what I'm saying. Let's get out of here. Jules, you were right to play us off. That was a great move, because we got to get out of here. That's going to do it for the Pocketnow Weekly, folks. The episode may be over, but the conversation continues. Find us on Twitter, where our tweets are like little droid bleats. Steven is at Steven Schenck. Jaime is at Jaime_Rivera, and you spell Jaime Jaime, FYI. Steven Schenck is spelled STEPHENSCHENCK. Jules Wang is at Greenpoint0, the number 0. And I am at Captain 2 Phones, Captain the number 2 Phones. Pocketnow is there too, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Google Plus as Pocketnow, and it all comes together like a typical American family and its wacky next-door neighbor on a mid-90s ABC comedy. At Pocketnow.com. Oh, I wasn't thinking about that one. I was thinking of Family Matters. Home Improvement is terrific too. I guess Wilson was sort of wacky. He was, I don't know. Maybe. I liked Al Borland best from that show.
Sure.
Folks, if you enjoy the Weekly or Al Borland, post about the Weekly so we can keep doing the Weekly. Share it with your friends who love mobile technology. Share it with Richard Karn, if you know him. Share it with strangers by telling the world all about how great it is on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play, wherever else podcast reviews are left, on the web or in the world. And write to us at podcast@pocketnow.com. Thanks to our sponsor at Telecommunication Systems, and thanks to you, our listeners and viewers, for keeping us on the air since 2012. As always, the Pocketnow Weekly will be back with more mobile tech talk next week. Just magical.